Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. This is The Truth Hurts. I am your host, Dakota. I'm joined with my co-host,
Marv.
and we are here to expose the truth. Alrighty. Believe we are ready, Marv. So we are here on our second episode of The Truth Hurts to discuss hot topic around social media these days. Miss Gwen and her protesting, her right to protest, pretty much everything about it. We're just gonna dive into it and give our opinions, give our versions of the truth on the matter, and so on and so forth. So let's get into it. For those that do not know, Gwen is a hammer thrower. And she competed in the U.S. Olympic trials. When was that, Marv? Like last week?
Yeah, over the last few weeks, they've had the Olympic trials for who's going to represent the United States. This happened about a week ago.
She came in third, which if you compete at the trials or any type of national event, you come in top 5, you are quite an athlete. She's placed in events in the past, so she's definitely a already established athlete. So definitely got to give her flowers for that. There's been a controversial issue though with her during her podium stance for third place during the trials. They played the national anthem, and she chose to not stare at the flag and hold her hand on her chest, or show the national anthem, if you will, the quote-unquote respect that it deserves. So that is what we will be diving into. Social media as a whole has been blowing up about it. If you just Google Gwen, there's nothing but articles on the top news headlines about it. And it's something that everybody's saying they're going to keep an eye on going into the Tokyo Olympics. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, let's just get the first thing out there. She did nothing wrong in the eyes of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. I think everybody needs to first come to understand what rules she violated, because she didn't violate any. Now, is she allowed to go to Tokyo and do this? No, she's not. But the IOC, International Olympic Committee, has already said you can't do that. This is not the stage for that. And they've already been warned in December that they will not allow to be doing that at the actual Olympics. But this wasn't the actual Olympics, ladies and gentlemen. This was the U.S. Olympic trials to determine who was going to represent the United States at the Olympics. So I don't see any wrongdoing here.
Neither do I at all. Much like Kaepernick with the whole kneeling thing. I'm not quite sure in the year, but I've seen the picture floating around of the two black males standing on the podium after track finish with their hands in the air. Protesting during the national anthem is not a new thing. Everybody's acting like it is. I think it's because, she is a black female athlete, and it makes for a better headline, and it makes the white people more upset. It makes the leaders of this country a little more upset in that aspect.
Don't forget the shirt that she had on, too, that said activist athlete. Now, a lot of people are starting to get upset at this whole activist athlete that people are starting to portray. It's no longer shut up and dribble, shut up and throw the football, run and catch, jump, do all these things like we're some type of jester living in the medieval times that's going to be controlled by whatever someone says. That seems like the ideology that everybody seems that they want these athletes, or anybody for that matter, to have to take place. Whatever someone says, well, that's the gospel, and there's no working around it. So I give big props to Gwen for doing what she continues to do. But you know, there's the haters out there, the trolls and everything else that want to go dig up some past history. And that's one thing that we're going to sit here and talk about is how they went and dug up a picture of her from a few years ago. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Being trolls, bro. Being trolls. Everybody just wants to get riled up over something, and this is something that's easy to have a reaction to, especially with, what systemically and systematically we are taught is right from wrong. And the thing that everybody doesn't understand is I'm really, really glad that, I get the chance to do a podcast like this and talk about issues like this with you because you are a black man and you are a service member. The number one thing that I keep seeing everybody saying is you're disrespecting veterans. Sit here right now confidently with my chest out tell you that I have a veteran next to me and he has no issue with this at all. He actually encourages it. The thing that people forget about what the national anthem represents, what patriotism is fighting for a more unified, more just, more overall better country, that we can live in, better society. To better society is to raise awareness to the issues. If you have a boat that has a bunch of holes in it, are you going to ignore the holes and sink, or are you going to plug them? Or are you going to figure out how to fix the boat? That's what people are just completely missing. And it's obviously not a new issue. This has been happening for years and years, decades, hundreds of years. And it's pretty sad that it's still going on and that it is this big of a topic. And for, like you said, for them to dig up a photo from, 7 years ago?
Yeah, 5, 6, or 7 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was her standing with the flag draped across her back, much like a lot of Olympians do, a lot of athletes do. And, they're basically saying you had pride then, why don't you now? Well, the thing that they're forgetting is everything that has happened these past couple of years, and it's honestly been pretty fucked, for lack of better terms. It's been so bad that countries around the world have frowned upon America when it comes to how bad the systemic racism is, and they've spoken out. And, a lot of other countries and a lot of other people around the world have poked holes in all of the issues that America has, and that's all that people like Gwen and people like Colin Kaepernick and, all these activist athletes or athletes that want to have a voice or people who want to have a voice are trying to do is just raise awareness to issues that people are refusing to look at.
Remember this. You're allowed to have a voice so long as it fits the narrative that everybody wants you to have. If it doesn't, that's going against the grain and people don't like that. But real quick, I want everybody to take a second and think about what you might have been like 5 years ago. And then I want you to go back 10 years ago. Okay, let's go back to your childhood. I want to know who all is the exact same from when they were a kid to 10 years ago to 5 years ago to right now in this very moment. And if you are the exact same, man, that's crazy that you didn't change one bit at all, because I don't believe that. So to think that, 5 years ago that she had her ideals on the U.S., but, fast forward to right now and she doesn't have those same ideals more. Like, people change. That's the great thing about people in society. Like, nothing's stagnant. Like, everything's changing. But, like, we get judged because we decided to change, go get some education, decide, hey, I want to learn about this today. And then, tomorrow you might not like that anymore because you learned a little bit of history behind it. But now all of a sudden, because I liked it yesterday, I get straight blasted away by everybody because I don't like it anymore. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
It's pretty fried. The ideology that people can't change in their thinking at all is just crazy. It pretty much goes back to what you learn in school, what I myself read in our textbooks at school. It's all about this patriotism and this ideal way of American life and this ideal way of representing America, and that's what everybody has embedded into their brains is a non-negotiable. When in reality, that whole topic, there's an array of ways you can represent America. There's an array of ways you can show pride in your country and be patriotic. But in the grand scheme, America was founded on people protesting the way that they were living. It was founded on the people having an issue and speaking on their issues and ultimately gaining independence from those issues and creating a country where we were supposed to have the opportunity to speak for ourselves and speak freely and to, be defended in that right, which has apparently, according to the people who are the same people who are blasting her for speaking her opinion, is what has been our reality, when in reality, every time a athlete of color or athlete in general or, someone of a high profile that's not a politician or doesn't have a lot of social power, if you will, is blasted for speaking their mind. And Gwen Berry is the latest
athlete for speaking her mind that's getting completely torn down.
latest victim. That's the word I was looking for. But so I'm gonna read a couple quotes. So this is what. First off, after all the headlines started coming out and shortly after the trials were over, she tweeted something along the lines of, I never said I hated my country. So the fact that all these headlines, which, obviously mainstream media does whatever they want to do, whatever's going to get a hit, they have been saying things along the lines of like, she hates her country, she should not represent her country, she doesn't have pride in America, blah, 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 blah. She tweeted specifically, like, I never said that I hated my country. I do not hate my country. She was told, they said they were going to play the anthem before they walked out. Then they played it when we were out there. Then she draped a t-shirt on her head that said, activist, athlete. The anthem doesn't speak for me. It never has. She's not saying anything about America not being the country that she's proud to live in or represent. She never said that. Never said she hated America. None of that. When it comes to the anthem specifically, there's a lot of things in there that if you have an issue with the way society is acting right now in America, like, you probably aren't going to sit there and like praise. You're probably not going to sit there and act like that's the word of God right at that moment. And there have been a lot of issues.
I think the other thing that we're starting to get confused here and the lines are getting blurred is have somebody else represent that's going to be patriotic for the country. Hey, for everybody out there, they did like that's what the U.S. trial was for. It was to showcase the best United States athletes for their events, to showcase how much better they were than the other individuals and earn the top spots to go represent the country of the United States in Tokyo at the Olympics. So, sorry that she was better than all these people that you want to replace her, but we talk about and you see tweets and everything else and quotes from people coming out. What is it? There's one quote that I found that I was just like in
somebody
disbelief.
bashing her for coming in third place. Like, how are you gonna bash her for coming in third place in the entire country in her specific sport?
Perfect right here. Republican or Representative Dan Crenshaw, Republican, Texas, stated, "We don't need any more activist athletes. We don't need them, or are you tired of hearing them?" I always tell you guys this. I'm a firm believer of choices. So, like, which is it? We don't need them or you don't want to hear it? Because I'm going to go with you probably don't want to hear it anymore because it's happening more and more. And then to say this, she should be removed from the team. The entire point of the Olympic team is to represent the United States of America. It's the entire point. So because she's not representing the United States of America in the way you want it to be represented, means she should be removed from the team. Yo, I don't know if people forgot, but she just showcased why she was one of the top 3 athletes that are about to go represent this specific event. I mean, you got a 17-year-old about to go run against the top sprinters in the world. I don't see anybody saying anything about that. Where's the backlash for him? Oh, because he didn't protest or do anything, but she does, and now she's the one that's getting blasted apart for it. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't pick and choose when you want to win this battle. Like, it's either she's going because she's the best. She's definitely not going because she protested. She's going because she showed up and she competed and she succeeded in the competition and is now going to the next level of competition, the world stage. So, like, I don't get where the confusion is that she's not representing the United States. Last I checked, when her name comes up on the boards, it's going to have the U.S. flag and her name next to it. She's probably going to be in some type of U.S. outfit that some sponsor puts together for the team. Like, I don't know if, like, we're just getting confused at how these things are broken down or how it takes place, but I'm sure there's like a whole pool of people that compete to get to the even trial stage to even have a chance at going to represent. I mean, shoot, what? I was watching the swimming trials. Ryan Lochte, probably one of the top greatest swimmers, and probably would be top if there wasn't a man named Michael Phelps in the picture. He didn't qualify. He ain't going. So, like, we're just not going to have, like, one of the greatest swimmers ever not go? Yeah, because he didn't qualify. Yeah. Like, think about that. Think about that for a second. We're just going to send the most patriotic people. Then, like, everybody that's sitting on their couch that thinks they're a patriot should probably go.
Like, be pretty dumb to me.
That doesn't make sense.
And it's also funny, too, because, I mean, if you really want to, like, get into it, the grounds of what the Olympics are and what they came from, what they were created for, it's literally a pissing contest between countries around the world. It's literally a pissing contest between which country had the latest and greatest athletes, the strongest, the toughest, the fastest, the smartest, the, you know, most able to survive athletes, like, overall. You know, games have evolved over the years. Events have evolved over the years. The media has obviously changed a lot of it and helped reach a lot of other countries with it. And, you know, it brings a lot of funding to other countries and whatever. But, like, there are still athletes for certain countries that live in that old mindset too. Like, the Olympics is not what these people for real, like, think it is. Like, it's actually just athletes around the world competing for who's the best. And if she is the third best in her event, she's the third best in her event. And she deserves to go to that stage. She deserves to get her flowers for that. She deserves to wear a medal. Whether you want to feel good about the way that she stood on a podium, that's not for her to fucking hold your hand and make you feel better about. That's not at all for her to decide how you feel about it. It's entirely up to her on how she reacts about it.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? And I was thinking about it, so I looked it up right here. I mean, we're not saying it's the same exact thing, but Jesse Owens, man. 1936 Berlin.
I'm not familiar.
Jesse Owens, track star, goes into Berlin, or as we consider Nazi Germany at the time before it really became up to that point. But Hitler's running the show, right? Oh, we already know what his mentality was. Black track star goes in, sweeps in all his events, gets handshakes from the competition because he was just that dominant, that much better than everybody else. Sure, he definitely was disliked. I'm sure Hitler sitting right there in his own country was upset that this man just completely swept the events, thinking with his ideology. But he is now celebrated, and I think the point of this is going to be everybody's upset right now. Tell the story 15 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. If it brought true change, I guarantee you she's going to be celebrated. Just like look at Colin Kaepernick for a second. 5 years ago, he tried to explain what was going on. Nobody listened. And then George Floyd got killed. And then everybody was listening. The story's going to tell itself at some point. And at some point, people are going to listen. They might not want to listen right now because, like we always say, the truth hurts because people hate the truth. But eventually, you can't run from it forever. Like, it's going to happen, and you're going to find out, like, yo, everything that they were talking about was deemed true, or roles are going to start being reversed. Minorities are going to become majorities. Majorities are going to become minorities. And then things will actually activate true change. But as of right now, she's a villain among society, and she's going to be a villain until whatever happens. I don't even think if she wins the gold medal, does she not be the villain right now? I don't think there's anything.
No, definitely not. I think that, if anything, would make the narrative worse and make it easier on the media to make her an absolute enemy. And that's sad, man, that they pray that hard and that she could work so hard and pull something off that's so fucking crazy. I mean, I could probably train as hard as I ever could dream of training in my entire life and not reach the status or the athletic prowess and ability that these people have that go to these events and literally win. Like, to stand on that podium and win. Like, bro, I ran track in high school, and I only ever placed because there was 3 people in an event. And I was still hype. I was still hyped to have my name called, but to stand up there in front of everybody and know how hard you worked and to be recognized, you know, it's bittersweet for her how it happened, but, you know, she's been in placement positions before. I believe in 2019, she won a gold medal in a nationals event. And then like 6 or 7 years ago, she was in the Olympics as well. So, you know, obviously she's no stranger to success in her field, like we've said. But it's just sad that now she has to go through this.
What about this, though? Say she goes to Tokyo and wins the gold medal. Now you put people in a tricky stance. Do you not celebrate that win because of what she did at the U.S. trials? Well, how patriotic are you then? Or do you celebrate it and then have people say, well, don't you remember what she did? Ah, man, it's double-edged sword that you're dealing with now because she won. How much do you care about the country? Because that's what she's there to do, represent the country, and she won for this country, but now we're not going to accept her win. Like, we're just going to pretend like that didn't happen.
It would be
like
a way different narrative.
Everybody in the world.
It's pretty crazy. For those of you that don't know as well, this is some of the shit. Just, you know, if you search her name on Twitter, Gwen Berry, this is some of the shit that'll pop up. Laverne Spicer. Gwen Berry was a systemic racism that made you come in third at the trials, boo, or are you like Kaepernick and just not as good as you think you are? First off, third place on a national stage in a national event, like we've said, is amazing. Give that woman her flowers for that. That is disrespectful for you to say that's shit. Tons of politicians have tweeted about it. This Terrence Williams fella, I've never heard of him. Sounds pretty irrelevant to me. Must have a big following. 1 million followers on Twitter, but he seems like quite the problematic human being. Wearing a Keep America Great hat. Nothing against anybody's side of politics or beliefs, but this just already shows me, like we talked about on our previous pod and we talk about all the time, Marvin, are you listening to listen or are you listening to respond? This is the type of person who's listening to respond. He doesn't hear shit, doesn't take shit, has a rebuttal. And that's pretty much what he did. The tweet says, I'm sick and tired of the disrespect. A U.S. hammer thrower turned away the American flag as the national anthem played. If America is so bad and racist, how did this black woman make it to the U.S. Olympics? Ungrateful. Raise your hand if you agree. Now, in the video, which is like 2 to 3 minutes long, this guy goes in and wraps it all up by basically saying, like, go get hit by a bus. Was not very kind in his words at all. If you've seen the video, you know what I'm talking about. There's people that have said things along the lines of or like some websites or whatever saying, her valuation is around like 1 to 5 million as an athlete, as much as like she's paid or worth, or whatever they were trying to say, as if they were trying to say that she's not oppressed, or she doesn't feel oppression, or doesn't know oppression, or doesn't know racism because of that. That's ignorance. To believe that is ignorance. You don't have to be black to know that the majority of black people are very fucking like poorly treated in this country in a number of ways. We'll save that talk for another episode. But obviously it has a lot to do with pretty much any episode that we talk about, because goddamn, we can't praise a black person at all in America. There's always something they do right, always stepping outside of some kind of fucking line.
But that's the also thing that, like, we're just like what we were talking about with the mental health thing. We're so quick to put race or sex or any discriminatory factor on something that once it's always that, it's never that. Like, just like we said with the mental health. If it's always mental health, it's not mental health. If it's always racist, it's not racist. If it's always sexist, it's not sexist. Like, you can't keep using these discriminations and cries out, but when it's used against you, want to plead your case with a bunch of lies or a bunch of reasonings on why, like, you can have this stance now. Like, no, if you can't have this stance in the moment that we're in right now, or if you want to use that stance, then you better be prepared for when that stance is used against you. Here's another good quote that Republican Representative Crenshaw decided to say. It's one thing when the NBA does it. Okay, we'll just stop watching. But now, the Olympic team, and it's multiple cases of this, they should be removed. That should be the bare minimum requirement, is that you believe in the country you're representing. All right, let's dissect this a little bit. It's one thing that the NBA does it. Okay, we'll just stop watching. Dude, then just turn it off. Like, just turn off the Olympics.
Seriously,
like, you don't have to watch it.
Don't support it.
Nobody's forcing you to watch this. Like, what's going on?
It's pretty fried.
but like, here's what I said. We make exceptions to things. You accept what the NBA is doing because you just turn it off, but you're not blasting it out there. Yo, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, the NBA is still playing the national anthem before the games. Still playing it. But, I don't care about that because it doesn't directly affect me as much as this does. And I feel like this doesn't directly affect you because, one, you're not going to the Olympics. You're probably going to sit at home like most of the other millions of people and watch it from the comfort of your home or a bar or something like that. And not only that, you don't like her? Don't watch her event. Don't watch her hammer throw, man. You don't have to do that. No one's forcing you to watch that event. You want to see everybody stand for the flag? Then just watch those events that you know those people are going to do that. If any other event bothers you, why upset yourself for no reason when you don't have to? But also this part right here. The bare minimum requirement is that you believe in the country you're representing. Who said she didn't believe? She says it herself. She doesn't hate the country. Her dad's a veteran.
Yeah.
Like, I doubt she hates the country, but she also sees what's going on and wants change to be made. Like, you can't be upset that somebody wants some change because somebody of a higher stature wants some change. I mean, you watch it, the poorest person in the neighborhood gonna say something, and they're gonna be like, you're just saying that because you're poor. The richest person in the neighborhood's gonna say something and be like, why do you care? You're rich. Like, how does anything get fixed then? Does the middle person say it and be like, oh, you're just trying to play neutral? Like, how do we get things fixed if all we're going to do is say, it's this or that? Like, it's one extreme or the other. Like, there's no change actually being done. There's a lot of talk being done, but there's not actual change taking place.
And that's where my favorite question comes in from anybody and everybody who is the first person to interject and have an issue. because their favorite response is, okay, well, then what do you want to change? Well, motherfucker, first off, your attitude. Second off, your initial response to this entire situation, and anyone else who has an issue with it. You know, if we can all approach it from the mindset that she has a point. Colin Kaepernick had a point. All of these black athletes and, you know, anyone in power with influence that has raised awareness or poked holes in the issues, like, they all have a point. You really think Gwen Berry woke up that morning and was like, you know what? I'm going to start a national outcry. That's my mission for the day. I don't give a fuck about the event. I'm going to go start drama. I want to be on CNN tomorrow morning. I don't think so, bro. I don't think so. Now, could you argue that she could have handled it a little better? Could you argue that it could have gone a little differently? Possibly. But, you know, as I read from her tweet, she was told that it was not going to be done while they were out there. She was told it was going to be before they went out there, and it wasn't. And then while they were on the podium, it happened. And much like Colin Kaepernick and, you know, the guys who have knelt after him and done the things during the anthem after them, they did what they did. They did what they did because they felt that that was their way to protest. If she feels that's her way to protest, which is patriotism, which is being a supporter of this so-called democracy that we live in, that's okay. Why is that not supported?
I'm glad you brought Kaepernick up again, because
it's hard not to bring Kaepernick up, you know?
But remember that quote that I said? It was okay for the NBA. Well, what about the NFL? Because the NFL was doing this before anybody else.
True.
And then the NBA started doing it. And then people all around the world started doing this after George Floyd got killed. So, like, if it's okay for the NBA, what about the NFL? Oh, is it that the NFL is not going to be played on the world stage? Is that what we're trying to say? Like, it's okay in our country, but we're not going to put that view out there on the world stage. We don't want anybody to see that. Well, the games are broadcasted across the world, so you can watch and see these people do this wherever. That doesn't matter. But we're trying to nitpick at who's okay and who's not, because you said it's okay that the NBA did it because you could just turn it off. Well, what about the players that are about to go represent the U.S. basketball team at the Olympics? You don't think any of them have ever kneeled before? And what if they kneel during the Olympics, which they obviously have already been told they cannot do? But are you just going to turn it off, or are you going to start lashing out at them? They especially if they win the gold medal. Like, people are going to look silly when these athletes start winning gold medals and they do some type of protesting thing, even though they're not allowed, taking that chance to see what the IOC is going to do to them.
I think when it comes to the differences in sports, here's the thing about that. When it comes to the NBA and when it comes to the NBA or the NFL, it's more hip. It's more younger crowd. It's more, you know, if you will, black culture oriented, as opposed to, you know, yes, some of the greatest athletes and runners and, you know, event participants across the world are black athletes, but it's not American black culture, which, you know, obviously is its own thing entirely. But I think it's different because that culture around track is very old. It's very, very formal, very walk this way, talk this way, almost military-like.
But remember what Usain Bolt was doing when he was on that grand stage. Like, not only was Usain Bolt dominant in what he did,
he was borderline disrespectful to every other athlete.
Like, if you go back and watch the 2008 Beijing Olympics when he runs the 100-meter dash.
Is that the one where he looked back?
Yeah, when he pulls up about 15 meters away and he looks back. And he just, like, you're talking about where you can win a race by hundredths of a second, and this dude knew that there was nobody
so
beating
confident,
him.
so cocky that he just turned around. I'm okay with it.
And then turned around and broke the world record again the following year. Like,
Dominating.
Then he didn't pull up. And people want to get upset, like, all the purists out there, oh, he's disrespecting the sport. No, he just knew he was that good. Like, and if you got a problem with it, yo, lace him up and go run. You got a problem with her hammer throwing?
That's
yo,
the thing,
go out
dude.
there and try
That's the
hammer
thing,
throwing,
dude.
and then tell me how good you are.
Everybody's got an opinion about it, you know. Everybody has opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. Everybody has an opinion.
And they all stink.
Every single one of them, dude. Even if you think you're right, even if you are right, even our opinions, you know, they may stink. You know, it is what it is. But here's another tweet from Gwen Berries that I just scrolled upon. She said, these comments really show that, number one, people in America rally patriotism over basic morality. And I think that is probably America's worst issue. The fact that human beings are not treated like a basic human life deserves to be treated in the face of anything to do with quote unquote bettering America and our social status and our economic, you know, forums. If you're not out there working a job, you are just a piece of shit and you deserve nothing in life. If you're a person of color and you act a certain way, then you're automatically a statistic and you're automatically judged every time you walk in a room, and you are lesser than the person who owns the business across the street. Like, just these little things all across the country is what her and every other activist athlete, if you will, are trying to raise awareness of. It's what LeBron tried to raise awareness of when he got told to shut up and dribble. And again, with that one, everybody said, you're one of the richest male athletes in history. How are you oppressed? How do you know racism? How do you this? How do you that? Bro, it doesn't matter what kind of status you have as a black person, male, female, whatever. You are always going to have that bottom line. There are Division I athletes across the country every single year that are literally on SportsCenter every day, every night, on ESPN every day, every night, and they still can't go out to their local businesses and be treated with respect, or they'll get pulled over because cops thinks they have drugs in the car, literally just because they're black, or because they have a suspect looking car, whatever it is. Just those little things, like, all around the country every single day that people don't see. That's what these people are raising awareness about.
And people, back to the LeBron thing real fast. People forget when LeBron first came to LA, they defamed his property, wrote a bunch of racial slurs on it and everything else. But, like, he's not oppressed. Oh, sorry, I didn't know that a dollar threshold kept you away from getting oppressed.
Yeah, according to the upper level of America, it does, and politicians, they certainly believe that it does.
But also, like, we're putting patriotism above a person. At what point are we looking at, hey, what about that person? Like, does that person not matter? Like, are we saying, like, because if it's not her, tomorrow it's somebody else. Yeah. So, like,
she's not going to be the last one. She's not going to be the last one this happens to, by any means.
Because remember, Michael Phelps hit a bong, and everybody was in an outcry, but it was okay because it was Michael Phelps, and it went away shortly after. But then you have athletes in the draft who might hit a bong or do something of that nature.
Or fucking Lance Armstrong literally disrespecting everyone in his own sport. But or like Lance Armstrong literally disrespecting everybody in his own sport because he was taking PEDs. I mean, like these guys that have literally been caught cheating in their own sport, and it was a headline for however long, but then a year later they're on the highest of the stages, back right where they started, right where they left off. Nobody bats an eye, nobody second guesses it, nobody's like, oh well, they should really just go to hell.
And then came out clean and was like, yeah, I cheated the whole time. And then people were like, oh, that's pretty messed up. But then it went away. Like, and obviously this is going to go away. But I think as long as the Olympics are still about to happen, this is going to stay with people. People are going to follow this very closely. And any other athlete for that matter. And I just think that as we get closer and closer to the Olympics happening, let's not get the lines more blurred to have the confusion of they don't represent America. No, they don't represent the America that you're trying to portray. They're definitely representing the United States of America. Whether you like it or not, they're not getting removed because they're not patriot enough. I mean, you like this whole thing, like it should be a bare minimum that you have some sort of patriotism to represent. No, if you're the best, you're the best. Like, it shouldn't matter. Like, if you're out there dominating, it shouldn't matter. And like I was just saying, because that 17-year-old kid isn't saying anything, everybody's loving him right now.
Yeah.
Let him take a knee somewhere. Watch how fast they turn.
Oh, everybody would hate him. Everybody would turn on him. But that's another thing. Like, some there was a tweet on there that said something along the lines of, you live in America, try doing that in a country where real oppression happens. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Pretty much the same thing. She's going to get crucified completely. Some countries might take it a level further. She might get kicked out of the Olympics. Hell, she might even be stomped to death in the street by somebody who really felt strongly that she was wrong. But at the same time, she's going to feel completely defeated and completely like she was in the wrong when really she wasn't. Obviously she's very strong in her ways, and she is completely in the right, in her right to protest, much like everybody else is able to protest. When a Karen goes to the store and they're not happy about the price of gas or some shit, and they want to complain to the manager, what do you define that as? That's literally you protesting. That's literally you protesting. But that's okay. But because black people are literally getting killed in the streets, whether it be by, sadly, very underfunded, very undereducated, over thousands and hundreds of years, civilizations of black people in pockets of our country that have killed themselves repeatedly over and over, or they're getting killed by police, or they're getting killed by, whatever. She's raising awareness to that. So you're telling me that you being mad over gas prices is completely justified. It's completely okay. But people actually dying is her raising awareness that's not okay.
But also, I think the confusion comes too as in you're only proving the point. You're only proving the point. You're trying to pretend like the issues don't exist, and you're trying to keep them at bay and keep them down by trying to cover up all the media outlets that are posting whatever you might say and what that person actually said too. But you're trying to use your social media platforms and have your other close-knit circle people with their platforms try to spin what was actually being said. And we do this a lot. We like to take clips and snips of what people say, combine them how we want it, and then play it out to make it sound like this person said this, when like realistically, if you listen to original audios, most people aren't
completely different narrative, completely different story.
Like, we always want to spin the narrative. What was it with Kaepernick? Oh, he didn't support the troops because he was kneeling during the national anthem.
Which just makes me so mad because that's the thing with this quote unquote patriotism that we are learned in our system in school, is that the number one way to not be an American, literally the only thing you have to do to be a borderline terrorist, is to slander or say something negative or do something negative in regards to the troops. And that's exactly what the media does every time anything happens with the national anthem or with anything to do with America as a whole. You don't respect the troops. You're against the troops. You're disrespecting the troops. Bro, I'm sitting next to a troop, and he encourages it. He encourages it not because he's a black man and he understands, you know, to some degree that level of oppression that she might be representing, but because he completely is an understanding that within the Constitution of the United States, within this country that was fought for, that has continued to be like fought for over the years, that he's defending her right to fix her country and to actively pursue fixing her country that she lives in, that we all live in, that we all have tried to create harmony in. Like, that's what she's doing, and that's why he is in support of it. That's why many troops are in support of it. So the fact that they are so quick to throw in the media that she disrespected a veteran by standing and not participating in the national anthem pisses me off.
You gave the perfect example of the lady at the gas station. But we didn't even have to do that. You want to know why? Because they gave us the example that we needed right here by protesting to say that she needs to get removed. Dude, that's protesting.
Yeah, that's literally protesting
literally what
too.
you're doing. Like, do you not understand what just happened? Like, that's why I always tell you, it's like we're living in a different world.
Let's Google it. What's the Webster definition of protesting, Marvin?
Dude, I'm curious to know.
I'm going to,
Because like that dude literally is protesting for her to get removed, which she's obviously not. She's proven. Obviously, they have alternates in case, you know, something happens or some injury happens.
very simple.
But they're not just gonna remove her, especially if there was a big, huge gap. And you know, sure, she didn't win today. But man, when you get on that stage, a lot of things can happen. You don't know
definitely.
what can happen.
I saw in her Twitter bio, you know, I'm not attesting to know the facts or know the records, but she says in her Twitter bio that she's an indoor track record holder in the hammer throw. Sounds pretty fucking credible to me. I don't really know, you know, I'm not a track expert, but hey, if you're an indoor record holder for any event, you're a damn good athlete. So I like he said, you know, what if she does go out there and win the gold? Because it seems possible to me. For you to even make it on that stage, it has to be possible for you. The definition of protesting, though: the expression of disapproval of or objection to something.
So it looks like we got protesting on both sides. It's just like I was saying earlier.
They're protesting the protest. And claiming that protesting is bad.
Dude, think about that. Dude, say that one more time.
They are protesting
the protest and claiming that protesting is bad.
That doesn't make any sense.
Sounds like ignorance to me.
Dude. Like what? Like that doesn't make any sense at all. Like you're upset because she's protesting, so you're going to protest against her to get her removed.
Looney Tunes, dog. Looney Tunes.
Dude, that's exactly what it is. Like, I want people to really think about this for a second. Like, she protested, and it upset people because she's protesting. So now they're protesting against her to get her removed.
There are
so how about we take the same ideal that she's protesting for and put it towards that's actually something good versus just removing one person? How about we get out here into these communities that we're protesting for? And I'm sure, like, obviously the lines get blurred because we're like, oh, they're protesting, but what are they actually doing? Probably the same thing you're doing sometimes, man. Probably just sitting on your couch, hanging out with your friends. Like, just because they're not doing something 24/7 doesn't mean they're not doing anything. I mean, why don't you go check on these people? Go do some fact finding to see, like, if people are actually doing what they say.
I was going to say, you know, everybody wants to talk about what's your answer, what's your idea for change. What if I don't know. We actually let people speak for once. We actually let people like voice their opinions. What if there was an event that was televised nationally or, you know, regionally, and it was local communities, local cities, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 representatives from each major city in a state, whatever it may be. And they all came together and they all said, I do this for my community. I'm this type of person. And here's my opinion on our situation in America and in my state specifically, in my community specifically. And I think if a lot of people watched an event like that unfold and heard people speak individually on the issues that they feel America has, it could maybe open up some eyes instead of these people that we perceive to have it all together and have it all figured out and have accomplished this big American dream. Then it would change some perspectives, or at least give a better opportunity to.
Doesn't fit my narrative. I mean, that's what it is. That's why. Like,
definitely doesn't fit your schedule or your idea of how things should roll.
No, and like what people always want to talk about, the left does this and the right does that. That really doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's human. Everybody can see what's going on in the world. Whether you agree with the dude sitting across from you is right or wrong, or whatever you view as right or wrong, that's one thing. But like, if we're gonna be out here and just let people be killed on Instagram, be killed on Facebook Live, and like we're just being like, well, this is this person's fault or this is that person's fault. No, it's everybody's fault because we're allowing this to happen. It shouldn't be, the blame can't be passed to one person or another. This is everybody's fault because instead of trying to stop people, we instead want to film it now. We live in this film society. Like I said, she wins the gold. Now you got a hard choice to make of, am I going to support this? Am I not? And then,
I'll tell you, 95% of Americans probably will not.
And then what am I going to do if I am going to support this? Am I going to be a closet supporter and be like, no, she absolutely sucks. I can't believe she would do that.
But my God, like, dude, did you see her performance?
Yeah. Well, like, then you're going to go home to your wife and kids and be like, oh my God, you guys, this is unbelievable. But when you're out with your friends, you're going to be like, yeah, I don't know why she's even out there. Like, they should have brought somebody else, but she won, man. Yeah, so what, she won? She's not a patriot. Patriots are what would be out there, even if they don't win. Like, that's what some people are literally going to sit there and fight with themselves and think. And I just think it's just absolutely wrong that we can't be open and honest about, if we're wrong, we're wrong. Like, hey, if we're wrong about this and something gets dug up or something crazy happens in the next month during the Olympics that she does, okay, we'll come back and be like, yeah, we were absolutely wrong about this. She obviously does not know what's going on. But like, at the same time, if you're all the doubters out there saying that she's wrong and she comes out and wins, you got to tip your cap to her and
be like, dude, you have to give her her flowers. You have to give her and commend her for her God-given ability, the shit that she has honed in as a fucking skill, as a weapon to do on the greatest stage on the planet to do. That's hard to do. Not everybody can just do that shit. Not everybody can get up and decide that they want to be an Olympian and go and be an Olympian. It's not an easy task. I don't care if you're fucking Bo Jackson and you have this quote-unquote God-given talent that you can do anything on the planet. If you can't be an Olympian, you can't be an Olympian, bro. If you go to the trials and you don't place, you don't get to go.
So what you're telling me is I can be 100% a patriot, roll out of my bed, love America,
and just go to the Olympics?
And not go to the Olympics? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Because like what these dudes are saying is just like, you can just roll out of bed, never worked out a day in your life, show up to the Olympic trials, and just start serving it. Like, I don't believe that to be true.
Definitely not. And people are calling her a narcissist and calling her all sorts of names and things I will not say. And it's just bonkers, man. It's Looney Tunes. Absolutely Looney Tunes. I feel sorry for her, but like I said, I will commend her for her athletic abilities, and I wish her the best on the biggest stage in the world.
But also look at the mental fortitude that...
Oh, she is undeniably tough.
Yeah, the mental fortitude that she's displaying right now is also not going unnoticed because, it takes a certain kind of person to be able to kind of ignore this constant backlash, this constant hate, this constant ideal that everybody truly is out to get you and everybody wants you to fail. And then we're going to come after you once you fail. Like, if she doesn't win, if she doesn't at least medal, dude, they're coming after her.
it'll be terrible.
If she doesn't get to the finals and medal, they will come after her and be like, this is why you should have brought somebody else, somebody who was a patriot. I almost guarantee that's what's going to happen.
Probably.
All the
It'll
papers
definitely
are
be the
going to say
narrative.
it.
It's an easy one to make.
Easy one. And it's already probably being prepared.
Yeah,
for
it's
right
already
now.
probably printed up.
Because people don't listen to listen, they listen to rebuttal.
Yeah, part of the number one issue. Like, if they actually listen to hear what things were being said, they would probably get the point the majority of the time. But when you're only listening to have something to say back, and this goes for anybody, it doesn't just go for athletes, this goes for anybody out there, whether you're somebody's boss, you're somebody's friend, co-worker, even your significant other, whoever that might be, your kids. If you're only listening to them to have a response, did you even take a second to hear what they're saying to you? Because
Not at all.
it's probably pretty important if they're looking to share it. And if you're just looking to have something to say after, then you really need to take some time to yourself and really hone in on why you just simply don't care enough about anybody else.
And it's just the people that have an issue are the people who are just simply tired of this mentality that they see these people have, where they just seem mad, where they just seem upset. And this ties back into our last podcast. This ties back into, any type of conversation around what makes you happy. Well, what doesn't make me happy is the way that you're reacting to me being unhappy. I mean, I'm not allowed to have emotions. I'm not allowed to feel how I feel. I'm not allowed to voice my opinion on how I feel and let it out.
No, you can. It just has to be whatever I tell you to feel and have.
It has to be on someone else's schedule. Has to be within certain guidelines. It has to be a controlled statement, a controlled action.
So basically, what I took away from this whole ordeal was, if you want to protest, go stand in your living room, put your fist in the sky, and start protesting.
Yeah, dude,
And
where no
like-
one can see, where no one can understand or feel the impact that you're trying to convey.
None of it. It has to be completely on your own time.
That's basically like the whole gist of this is, if you want to do things like this, and we're not saying like obviously we agree with that. We're just saying like this is how they're trying to portray this is you have to protest, you have to do these actions in your own time whenever it's convenient for you, but definitely not when it's going to be an inconvenience for them. That's definitely not when they want you to do that.
I say stick it to the man. Poke holes in the boat, bro. Poke holes in the boat till they plug them themselves. That's all we got to do.
And as we close this one out, I mean it's been great. We'll definitely probably have some more hot topics.
Oh,
in
definitely.
the
There's
next
always
few
hot
weeks,
topics.
especially with the NBA Finals coming up. The Olympics coming up. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more headlines, or who knows? I mean, every day is different. There could be a headline tomorrow that we could end up talking about and just
Oh yeah.
putting something up. But I think the biggest takeaway from this is stay true to yourself, even when the hate comes your way, even when the trolls come your way, even when the disrespect comes your way. If you stay true to yourself and really believe in what you're doing, chances are, if people are getting upset about it, you're probably doing the right thing, and the
Damn
right
straight.
people are going to hear what you got to say.
Damn straight, man. Said it great, Marv. It's been a fun one. Can't wait for the next one. Like you said, we're going to have many, many more topics to discuss. And we want to thank everybody also for the support on the first episode. It went live right before we recorded this, actually, a couple hours. So
very excited to see how that one pans out, and this one we uploaded as well. But appreciate all the support. Please follow the socials, show love, like the video if you do enjoy the video, if you enjoy the listen, and we will be getting on other podcasting platforms very soon. And always remember,
The truth hurts because people hate the truth.
Boom, boom.